you could, because of the way blockchain and public-private cryptography works, there's a lot of other avenues that we can explore and build out. The two main ones are identity and reputation. So again, if we rely on the government to basically tender the currency, but now we can do the currency. If we can do identity, such as equivalent to state IDs, and with that reputation, you can get a lot of
have a history to your identity, essentially, and that's one thing that I think blockchains really enable is history. For the first time ever in history, we actually have verifiable history, because once it's in the blockchain, it hasn't been edited. Obviously, you can put a lot of stuff in the blockchain and selectively reveal stuff, but there's still, you actually have real history. And part of the problem is, well, you have these currencies that you have, you have your irrevocable transactions. Well, a lot of your transactions aren't instant, and so the other half of that is trusting the other side of the transaction to send you the goods that you paid them for. And that's where I think identity is probably one of the largest value propositions it's missing from this decentralized economy, because it's just you can't have a transaction if you only do digital transactions because those are instant. But you need to be able to trust the other person to some degree on the other side. So that's one thing, and I've been working on this for the last year and a half now, and we're almost going to have the protocol done, at least an alpha done in the next couple weeks. Question mark, hopefully. And hopefully that'll be something that's generalizable enough that can be used in all different situations, like for payments, for ride sharing, for smart contracts, all that. Because it goes back to, like, the smart contracts, well, they're only useful if you have good information being input to them. If the information you're getting is faulty and it triggers the smart contract to pay out when it shouldn't have, you didn't really gain anything, and then you should have just had it in a regular contract, because then you can go to a court and arbitrator and they can say, hey, this information was false here, and they can tease that out. So I think smart contracts are really hamstrung until they have good reputation identity, that you can get good information out of the network without having to explicitly trust somebody directly.
Reputation is kind of like what eBay has, for sellers and buyers. How do I know I'm going to buy this from someone random on eBay? They're going to send it to me. Same thing with reputation, but you could do that with, if you tie that to an identity, that identity could then have thousands of different attributes that they have a reputation for doing.
So you have reputation in all sorts of contexts.
So like you could start, saying how timely someone is. Like, oh, this person's always late. I'm just going to, low reputation. So when you're at a meeting and this guy's got a low reputation, probably don't want to wait around for it. It might be a while.
Yeah, or when you broadcast the meeting invite, you just tell them it's 5 minutes before it actually is, because he's always 5 minutes late. And do things like that.
But either way, the idea is that you could have this universal identity that could be, you could tie all these reputations to, and then you could have this sort of
web of trust, more or less, that you don't need to trust a person directly, but as long as the people you trust other trustworthy people, you can reach a lot farther out than your direct sphere of influence. And because you need to have these different trust contexts where you can have you can trust somebody to mow your lawn, but you might not trust them to drive your car. There's different ways you're going to look at how you trust people. And so by having identity, well, now you can tie all these different contexts together. Because otherwise, if you look at Facebook is trust of some sort, because you can post stuff on there, Facebook is essentially trusting you not to spam. As soon as you start spamming, they're going to close your account. And right now, pretty much all of our trust is broken up into all the different platforms, because they have to prevent spam and abuse of the system. So, there's definitely a lot to be gained.
Scalability. Decentralized systems have to duplicate all their information everywhere, so it takes a lot of bandwidth and storage. Sometimes computation power as well, depending on what you're doing. But mostly it's just trying to do it efficiently as possible without giving up part of the decentralized aspects that give you the added benefits from moving away from the centralized ones. Regulation, we asked about the regulation. SEC stuff is mostly to do with like the tokens, because the tokens fall really close to like SEC.
I mean, they call them ICOs. I mean, that rings a lot like IPO. And that's essentially what a lot of people are buying them for, as they have a explicit expectation of profit off of other people's efforts. So very tough to defend a lot of the tokens that are out there.
And quantum computers is basically, again, with the cryptography, but that, again, that kind of goes back to if you can break Bitcoin's cryptography, then we all have a lot of problems anyway, and they're already working on ways to prevent that because everyone can see it's a problem because it's not just Bitcoin that's going to be in trouble at that point. So that's basically...
And there is post-quantum cryptography that can be put in, that there will be a way that we can, fix that once quantum computers are solved, but that's way out there yet. That's probably still 10 years before we have to really even start worrying about it. So.